Coming up on Tech Thing, USB-C docking stations, FAA battery update, the dumbest Wi-Fi speed boost ever, and tech picks for Mother's Day. It's all coming up on Tech Thing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/techthing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. Join the crew that makes Tech Thing possible at patreon.com/techthing.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is Tech Thing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Oh my goodness.
We have a lot in this episode.
Yes.
Yes.
We do. I'm imitating my
Yes.
internet access on my desktop, which is my
Is it delayed?
My desktop at home is in like the far corner of the house, and
Okay.
traditionally has had the worst coverage of any place in the home before I installed the mesh routers. But
Yeah.
I was laughing because I was getting like all of a sudden I was getting like 1 to 10 megabits per second. Things were stuttering. Yeah, down.
Oh, that's terrible.
Things were stuttering. I was having trouble opening pages, and after I did one tiny thing,
Yeah.
I was getting like 100 megabytes per second. Not megabits, like 1 to 10 megabytes down.
Okay.
Afterwards, I get like 100 megabytes per second downloads. And what I did was I picked up the antenna. My Wi-Fi, my desktop has a Wi-Fi PCI Express card,
Okay.
and then or it's off the motherboard, and then basically there's an antenna that I normally
yeah.
is stuck to
Comes
the
out of
top
the
of my
back.
monitor.
Okay.
And stuck to the top of this dramatic reenactment of the antenna on top of my monitor. So normally it's up on top of my monitor,
Yeah.
but it fell down behind the PC case.
Oh. Wow.
And then I picked it up and put it on top of my monitor, and everybody, was happy, or at least I was happy because it was actually working again. Never underestimate
Wow.
the power of simple stuff going wrong and making your tech misbehave. And
so
also,
true.
it's amazing. If you hate the way your Wi-Fi runs, just try relocating your router inside your house.
That's a really good
The
point.
closer to the center, I've seen people be like, I'm going to have to buy the $300 router and then move it up on top of a bookcase in the middle of the house, and
Yeah.
suddenly it works. You may not be able to do that. I get it. Especially if you live in an apartment building or a concrete house, or there's a
True.
central well, and there's like 1,000 reasons why you can't put a router someplace useful. But try. Try if you can.
Just try. You might get lucky.
Oh,
So moving
man.
on from that, speaking of misbehaving, let's talk about Mother's Day tech. So I have a ton of picks for us today. Super excited about them.
Going home, decrusting mom's computer, or automating the backup of these 7 zillion photographs she scanned to the OneDrive on her 7-year-old Mac.
All those different things.
My mom got her first computer at 62.
Really?
We're not ready for the Internet of Things yet at Mom's house.
That's so sweet. My grandma just
sweet.
got an Echo. It was the cutest thing. I'm so excited for her. So lots of you guys have moms out there who could probably use some upgraded tech, and we found some picks for you. All of these that I'm going to talk about today are $100 or less, and they are available on Amazon Prime as well. So you can grab that last minute gift and make your mom's day.
Actually, if you're getting ideas now, you have waited to the last minute.
You have. So if you're seeing this episode when it releases,
Yeah.
you should probably get something like right now, because it's pretty much the last day of shipping. So moving from there, we have tons of different picks. I'll start off with the Echo Dot. This is the 2nd generation one, and it's $49.99. So half that $100 limit that I'm giving myself today. This is for your busy moms. So you can use an Echo Dot to basically tell you the weather. You can get calendar events. You can hook it up to Gmail, for example. You can add things to your shopping list, which is super useful, especially in the kitchen. It's so great. You can play your music on it.
I'm laughing
Why are you
because
laughing?
I'm married to a busy mom, and she'd be like, just hand me a sheet of paper. Send that back to Amazon. Buy some CDs.
By the time I write something down, I'm forgetting about it. So I like just telling this thing to put something on my list, and then I pull out my phone at the grocery store and I read it. So
I'm just also-
it saves me time.
It's kind of awe-inspiring anytime anything voice-controlled works. I'm still kind of amazed
Yeah.
that voice control works.
This one works, surprisingly. I've been using it for a long time now. It's also a really great starter for automating your house, too, if your mom's like tech savvy, since some of my other picks will work with it, too. So my second pick on here is called the Belkin Wemo, and you can also find it over on Amazon. So this one is $30, so nice and inexpensive. I have the older model of this, which looks like this, so I'm really glad that they upgraded it. I can't wait to get a new one. This is the older generation.
Do I need to connect that to Wi-Fi to make it turn on and off.
Yes,
Okay.
you do. So you have to have Wi-Fi in your household.
Okay.
So this does work with Echo, so you can either schedule the switch to turn on at specific times with rules that are in their mobile application, which is available for iOS and Android, or you can set it up with your Echo so you can just come home and then tell your Echo whenever you want it to turn on. So for example, I have the older model of these plugged into my entertainment area. So when I come home from work, all I have to do is say, Echo, turn on the living room, and then all of my Belkin Wemo switches turn on. So I have 2 that are plugged in the entertainment section. Everything turns on for me. It's wonderful. And that way I'm also saving some power in my household too, because it's not turned on all day long.
But you can make it look like people are there on the weekend when you're not there.
Yeah, which is really awesome if you're a traveler too. So my third pick on here is the Ultimate Ears Wonder Boom. This is brand new. It just released a couple of weeks ago. And basically it's a Bluetooth speaker. So it's really cute. Comes in a bunch of different colors as well, which is nice. And it's $100, $99.99. So you're saving a penny right there. So while the Ultimate Ear speaker line isn't as expensive or it doesn't sound as great as the $300 or $400 range Bluetooth speakers,
but
these last a long time. It is very catchable. I was definitely throwing around the warehouse, and I also dropped it a few times, and it's droppable, which is nice.
Is it waterproof?
It is waterproof, yeah. So it's IPX7 waterproof, 10 hours of battery life, and you can double up with a second one if you want to and pair it so you have multiple different Bluetooth speakers going at once. It does take 3 hours to fully charge it. It is not Amazon Echo voice control compatible, but it does float. So if you didn't get this one last year that comes with the little inflatable thingy like I did, you could get this one and it just floats on water. Although sometimes it will lose that connection when you put it in water. So keep that in mind because
Don't pull it
water.
under the water.
Yeah.
Water blocks Wi-Fi really, really well.
It does. Yeah.
Even better than my PC does. It's funny to watch it, especially as the bass line hits while it's half submerged.
It sprays up water. It's so funny. The third one on here, or fourth one, is actually something really cool that I found, and I just bought one for myself. This is the carved wooden iPhone or Android case. They range in price depending on the style, as little as $24 up to $55. I am loving this one for my Pixel XL case. It offers up real wood that's handmade and assembled over in Indiana, in the USA, which is cool, yeah. The only con that I found is whenever I try to press the buttons on the side, they're kind of hard to find because they're all it's a smooth surface on the side, so it's a little hard to get used to.
It doesn't scream button to your fingertips.
It does not. Yeah, you have to get kind of used to it, but once you do, it's really nice and it's secure, and my phone feels very safe in here because of the rubberized texture around the side. So it's very unique too because it's real wood, so every single one is going to be a little bit different. And I also like that it's supporting a small US business. I think that's really cool, so I really enjoy this new case that I got. I've gotten tons of compliments on it too, so if your mom's into like people complimenting her phone case, she'd probably like one of these, especially if she's into like the wood style.
Sea turtles.
Isn't it cute?
Mother of pearl inlay.
Yeah, it's so cute.
It's like a guitar.
It is kind of like a guitar in a way.
Nice.
The next one is the Roku Premiere Plus streaming media player. I got one of these too that I can show you. It's $79 on Amazon Prime. I've been using the Roku media boxes since the first generation. I love them so, so much. The Premiere Plus offers HD and 4K UHD playback to compatible TVs along with HDR as well, which is nice. Now, I like the Roku because they are unbiased towards different streaming video apps. So whether your mom's into Netflix, or maybe she likes HBO Now, or Amazon, for example, or Hulu, luckily they all work on here.
Completely random thought.
What?
Like last week announced Q3, there will be Amazon Video or Amazon Prime Video on the Apple TV.
Really?
Really.
Finally!
We both own Roku boxes.
Yeah.
They are pretty fantastic and have a ridiculous number of channels, 90% of which you will never be interested in.
Most likely. The only ones I hit up are Amazon and Netflix personally. Luckily, they also work with Logitech Harmony remotes, so you can program one remote for all the things, and then Logitech Harmony works with the Amazon Echo, so you can use the Echo to work with your Roku if you have one of those.
If you have a lot of family and you like to watch stuff, the headphone jack in the remote for the Roku is amazing.
Yeah.
Because you run your headphones off of the remote and just not have to deal with running a 30-foot cable through the living room.
Totally works so awesome. So the sixth one that I wanted to mention, I have the older model of this one as well, but I have checked this one out in person. It is called the Fitbit Flex 2, and this comes in a couple of really pretty colors. Like they have this pretty lavender one if you want that. So this is my best under $100 Fitbit that you can get, which allows for 5 days of fitness tracking, sleep tracking, and call and text notification as well. Also, it's swim proof, so you can use it at the pool, or if you go to the gym a lot, you can definitely wear it while you're doing things like that. And it can be worn in several different accessories, like they have a pennant accessory, they have a bangle bracelet, which your mom might like. So it's not only useful for fitness, but it's also pretty stylish for the ladies. So if your mom's into fit, that would be my pick for her. Lastly,
Men can't wear bangles?
well, you can wear a bangle, yeah.
I'm wearing a
Go
bangle
for it,
next
man.
week.
You do you, bro.
The 70s are back.
You have a pick for us.
I have a couple picks. Get mom a subscription to Spotify.
Ooh.
If your mom loves music, it is an amazing resource, especially if they haven't experimented with any online streaming services. It runs off of everything, but I am a particular fan of the Sonos Play One. This is an amazing piece of music playback software. At $200, it's not cheap. But a couple of these in a house can really change the way your whole family, or your mom and dad, or mom, consume music. 'Cause if there's a mom and a dad,
wonderful.
or the mom, sorry, I'm thinking about the complications in the
It's over
relationships in my family.
$100, but the Sonos Play One is really cool and it's totally worth it.
It's an amazing piece of hardware, and the software works really, really well. One last thing, if your mom has all the photos stuffed into boxes or is into genealogy, which is all over my family, a scanner would be a sweet gift. The Wirecutter loves Canon's Canoscan LIDE or LEAD 220, and it sells for a paltry $61.
Nice. I like it.
They've also recently picked their preferred photo scanning service.
Oh yeah, I sent in a ton of negatives. I can't wait to tell you guys all about that service. Really excited. I'll show you some example photos of when I was a child too. Something to look forward to.
Oh, you with
my dorky curly hair. Oh my God, I'm so
teeth.
excited. Yeah, gap teeth, everything. Got Hermione going on. If you guys have some great gift ideas, fire them out, ask@techthing.com. And if you have any awesome ideas that you want to share with the rest of our viewers, make sure to comment below and let everybody know. Let us know what you would like to see us cover in a back to school episode 2, because we will be doing that in a few weeks, I guess.
Summer is barreling
late summer
towards us.
Yes, it is. We'll be right back.
So USB-C/Thunderbolt docks are supposed to make your life simple, in theory. It sounds simple enough, right? Get to your desktop, plug one cable into your laptop, and the magic box already has your HDMI or DisplayPort, USB, gear, keyboard, mouse, all charging and ready for you. And all you have to do is connect a single cable. I love that concept. Video and power and data over a single port. It is awesome.
Yeah.
I will also say that Thunderbolt 3 is probably more awesome than USB-C, but then we can get into the whole conversation of the differences, and I just don't want to do that this week. Because it just gets, because like you can have USB-C, but not necessarily USB 3.1 or Thunderbolt. In any case, docks work really, really well for Windows.
Just for Windows.
If you're using Linux or OS X, your mileage is going to vary. We'll talk about that later. I took a look at two docks recently, Dell's Thunderbolt Dock TB16 and Kensington's SD4600P USB-C dock, or USB-C universal dock with power, which is this critter right here. And I'm just going to start pulling the cables out of this that don't actually come with it, because there's just a lot of stuff in here. Don't you love when Ethernet cables stick?
I hate trying to get Ethernet out.
Well, we'll just leave the Ethernet cable in place. The Kensington sells for $199.99, about $172 on Amazon, while the Dell dock sells for $299 MSRP, about $257 on Amazon. Dell's targeted for Windows and Dell's preferred flavors of Linux, while the Kensington promises to work with Windows, OS X, or Chrome OS.
Ooh.
More on that later.
Okay.
We're building. We're foreshadowing here. I'm going to start with what I will call the less traumatic of the two docks, the Dell Thunderbolt Dock TB16. It's 240 watts. They're big on pointing out that it's 240 watts, and I kid you not, there is a 240 watt power supply with this beast.
Yeah, and it's heavy.
It's big, much like my skull and my ears. Designed for Dell systems. Matter of fact, the power button on the top will only work with Dell's hardware. TB16 has a ton of ports for connectivity. Two USB 3.0 on the front, one with power share, so it'll charge your device even when the dock is off. and a 3.5 millimeter headset jack. On the back, of course, we got gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB 2.0 and another USB 3.0 port, along with a Thunderbolt 3/USB Type-C port on the back, and a 3.5 millimeter audio jack right over there to power your desktop speakers or to feed your desktop speakers. There are 5 USB ports on this.
Yeah.
I think, not counting the USB-C port, I think that's awesome because it's really easy to fill up 2 or 3 USB ports with just your keyboard and a cable to dock your phone. Like your keyboard, your mouse, and a cable to dock your phone. Boom, that's 3 USB
sometimes 4
ports.
Yeah.
The display options on the TB16 reek of, we have a lot of corporate and consumer customers, and it is a crazy array of video options. HDMI, DisplayPort, mini DisplayPort, and VGA. So you can run 3 1080p monitors or 2 4K monitors or one 5K monitor at 60 hertz. I have no 5K monitors to test. I pretty much kept it simple with a 2560 by 1440 monitor and a 1080p monitor, usually with the laptop closed. I love the fact that I can set up my laptop so that I can close the lid and it won't power down.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just, there's so many wonderful things you can do to tweak the power consumption of your device. And then when I unplug it and travel, when I close the lid, it'll hibernate. It's cool, kid. So the USB-C on the back of the TB16 actually worked as an output to a monitor that had USB-C DisplayLink input on it.
Cool.
Now, 240 watts sounds kind of crazy, right? The TB16, quote, can provide power to your laptop at 19.5 volts and up to 60 watts of power to attach Thunderbolt 3 peripherals. So it's basically got 60 watts for the laptop. And Dell Precision, Latitude, or XPS notebooks with a Thunderbolt 3 port can receive up to 130 watts of power, which is a metric ton of power.
Yeah, it is.
Setup takes a little bit of time. Dell wants you to update the BIOS on your laptop, and you'll need to. And then you install the latest drivers for the Thunderbolt controller, the Thunderbolt firmware upgrade, the Intel HD graphics, S-Media, USB 3.0 host controller, Realtek's USB Ethernet controller, Realtek's USB audio driver, and then you can reboot and plug the dock in.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but at that point it basically worked.
Okay. So it's not plug and play, but once you download everything, you can make it plug and play.
Yeah, well, you know, at some point I'll take functioning over pretending to function and being plug and play.
Yeah.
Look, the headphone and mic jack, it worked fine for listening to music, making Skype calls. I ran multiple monitors and USB drives off of it. The dock button does whatever your computer's power on button does. So don't reach over and press the button if you're in the middle of something important because it'll shut your computer down. Ask me how I know.
Good point.
And again, Dell says the power button will not work with non-Dell computers. If you want to get secure, you can use the Thunderbolt settings, you know, and basically require CM request and host challenges. I don't want to get into Thunderbolt security because I don't understand it at a deep enough level to tell you intelligent things about it, but there are options there. But Thunderbolt security got me thinking about this. The 1.6 foot Thunderbolt cable. It is short. Too short. In theory, you can replace it, but there's no actual longer options available from Dell. It's got a big sort of dongle plug on the end that's inside of here. You can't just buy any Thunderbolt cable. This is good for not having your cable borrowed in the office, but short equals limited options where you can put it on your desk.
Okay.
And a lot of XPS users think the cable is on the wrong side of the dock because it exits the left side of the dock, while the USB-C port is on the right side, the left side of the XPS laptops.
Oh, no.
So you either park your laptop in front of it and obscure the ports, or, well, maybe they can come up with a VESA bracket. Oh, look. Screws for a VESA bracket on the back. Maybe you could do that behind your monitor and then bring this out here and stuff your laptop underneath your monitor.
Okay.
More Linux support, much desired by Linux users.
Yeah.
Even more so than VESA mounts.
Yeah, all it did was pretty much just charge my laptop. So if you run Linux, it allows for pass-through charging of USB-C, but it does not recognize any of your peripherals. So since the only drivers available on their website are for Windows, Linux is not compatible with the docking station.
Currently.
Yeah, perhaps there is a hack around to make it work, but so if you guys know any kind of hacks that I could do to make it work, comment below, because oh my gosh, that would save my cable organization so much time, but currently I can't get it to work. It did recognize my monitor for like 2 seconds, but as soon as I logged into Linux, yeah, it was gone. Yeah, and that was by like turning it off and then repowering it back on and everything. So I tried all sorts of different ways.
Well, that's me rephrased. The TB16 worked pretty flawlessly with Windows, and as stupid as this might sound, it is really nice to plug in one cable and be done with all of your peripherals on your desktop. Now bringing me the wireless Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
I kid. But first, a lot of folks were actually curious about file transfer speeds. I grabbed a SSD and a USB 3 enclosure and did some simple file transfer tests with some big 3 GB files, and then a collection of a few thousand photos, and typically got 128 megabyte per second writes and 140 megabyte per second reads directly connected to the laptop.
Not bad.
When I connected the drive to this, which was then connected to the laptop by this, I got 125 megabyte per second writes and 130 megabyte per second reads.
Barely any change.
Yeah, if you notice a difference on that, you are much more sensitive to write and read speeds than I am.
Cool. Okay.
So, if you want to...
You just smack yourself
I smacked myself with a cable. If you want to run the single cable lifestyle, run Windows, and have a desk layout that can work with the quirky Thunderbolt cable, thumbs up to this, especially if you have serious, I want to be able to connect to anything issues in the monitor department.
Yeah.
Pardon me while I start dropping docks all over the place. Speaking of which, since it's leapt into my hands, as it were, there are a lot of cables over here. Thank you
I'll
so
take
much.
your Dell. Thank you.
This is the Kensington SD4600P USB-C Universal Dock with power, priced at $199, $172 on Amazon. And in theory, it is plug-and play for Windows OS 10 and Chrome users.
Okay.
So Kensington, like Dell, offers an optional base mount to attach or hide it on the back of your monitor, which is incredibly tempting. It also has a considerably smaller power supply. The SD4600 uses a standard USB-C cable, so you can get a longer one if you want to, and it's running USB 3.1 ports. The Kensington dock is pretty stripped down compared to the TB16. You've got 2 USB-C ports on the back, one of which connects to your laptop. You've got DisplayPort, HDMI, Gigabit Ethernet, and a pair of USB 3.1 ports on the back. I love the 3.1 bandwidth, but by the time my keyboard, mouse, and phone were plugged in, I only had this one single USB-C port left.
Yeah.
On the front, we've got a microphone, headphone jack, and a single USB 3.1 that can also fast charge at 2.1 amps if you have a need for the power.
That's cool.
OS 10 users will need to install an Ethernet driver once. Chrome and OS 10 can only run a single monitor, where Windows can run dual 4K monitors at 30 hertz or a single monitor, or a single 4K monitor at 60 hertz. And of course, to do that, you're going to use the DisplayPort and the HDMI port, unlike the TD16, which can handle up to 3 4K monitors at 60 hertz.
Okay.
Also, unlike the TD16, I had some issues with my desktop monitor not waking up or the bottom quarter of my screen turning black, which led me to the Kensington USB-C dock firmware upgrade tool. Quote, only upgrade your firmware if you see issues on using the dock. If your docking station is working as expected, you do not need to upgrade to the newer firmware.
That's weird.
What's really
That's like
weird,
telling people to not upgrade your BIOS.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, yeah, so you download the firmware tool, and then you install the Cypress serial driver that's bundled kind of with the firmware tool.
Okay.
And then the firmware update attempt fails, and then you try rebooting the system and running the Cypress update, and then the firmware update fails again. And in any case, the SD4600P was occasionally flaky, and I would have to pull the USB-C from the back of the dock or the HDMI cable from the back of the dock to get the monitor to wake up.
Okay.
Which is minor. There are a fair number of complaints online from MacBook owners, especially 2016 Touch Bar owners. DisplayPort not working, or only HDMI works, or HDMI only works, but only with the USB-C cable that shipped with the dock and not with any other USB-C cable. HDMI only running at 30 hertz. Firmware upgrade issues. At least the USB 3.0 file transfer speeds were solid. Pretty much the same 125 megabytes per second I got with the other connections. Kensington's SD4600P sounds messy compared to the TD16, but frankly, Dell is qualifying a very small collection of Dell laptops, where Kensington is working with a much larger collection of potential fail, right? Because they want to do Windows, they want to do Chromebooks, they want to do OS 10.
If it's not proprietary, in this case of docking stations, you're going to run into a few additional problems. That
would be a good way of summary. Shop carefully. If you need a Mac dock, understand that people are having issues with this. HP Spectre 360 owners are having issues with it. Try it out. See if there's a certified list of laptops that'll work with it. Make sure there is a place you can return it to in case it does not work. And kids, it's never going to run Linux, as far as I know. No. That's okay. That's okay.
I want a docking station for Linux.
Well, talk to Dell. Patreon.com/TechThing. I get excited. TechThing patrons, they can watch our build videos, subscribe to an audio-only feed, check out videos of the edit of every show, and if you're a patron at the $10 level, you can join Shannon and I in a monthly hangout. We want to thank all of our patrons for their patronage because you make the show possible. And hey, we understand if you can't donate. If you got a question, if you're curious to see us review something, you got a tip or an idea, please fire them out to ask@techthing.com. Thank you so much for supporting TechThing, no matter how you do it.
Last week I chatted about my upgrade to the Aeris 6190 modem, and I gotta say there were a lot of feels in the comments. A lot of feels.
There was some intensity.
There was some intensity.
Some outspoken stuff.
So for starters though, I do want to mention again that upgrading did in fact fix my husband's issues in his game. He was having lag whenever I was uploading photos or videos to like Facebook or Google Drive or YouTube or whatever it might be.
And you bought a 6190.
Yes.
And the problems went away.
Yes, they did. So I am very satisfied with my purchase because it solved my problem. Yay, for a whole $100. I have been using this new modem for 3 weeks now, and so far so good. With that said, I am aware that there is an Aeris lawsuit that's currently going on for the 6190 because of some issues. We will talk about that next week further in the show, but so far, for myself, I'm good. So, some of our comments moving on from there.
Can I just say your mileage may vary?
My mileage may vary. Your mileage may vary as well. So some of our comments were in regards to this thing called QoS, which I did not mention in the segment last week. This stands for quality of service, and it's usually installed on a router or a modem to help with service issues. So quality of service can prioritize certain kind of tasks to take up more bandwidth than other tasks so that everything is streamlined simultaneously from several different devices with very good settings for each one. This is cool because it should solve lag issues, for example, for bandwidth.
Well, or you prioritize the packets.
Yes.
So like those game packets are more important than that YouTube stream, which is more important than this Netflix thing. And there's 1,000 different ways to deal with QoS, but I assure you, every packet that goes from the internet into your home has been massaged thoroughly. Deep state inspected and QoS to within an inch of its little packety life.
I will throw up this link in the show notes for you guys. It's how to use quality of service to get faster internet when you really need it over at How To Geek. Great article explaining what QoS is and then how to set it up on your router or your modem if it's available on there as well. So I'll link to that in the show notes. But basically, when this first happened months ago with my husband's gaming lag issues, I had frustratingly tweeted out about this several months ago, and QoS was recommended by lots of people. So I ended up turning it on my Asus router at home. So for example, on my Asus router, QoS can simply just be turned on and it'll adjust the settings based on what device uses the most bandwidth. Or I can also set up a manual option. Like, for example, I tested my phone to upload and download at a lower speed than my husband's gaming rig. I also tested the default configurations where QoS automatically sets it up however it feels necessary, but this did not fix my issue after restarting and testing my network results. But since I kept on getting those issues with our connection, I decided to finally put down some cash, upgrade the modem just this month, and then finally we solved that problem. Now with that said though, QoS, quality of service, is so handy. I recommend it for anyone who notices bandwidth issues on their own connections because it will probably solve your problem before you end up spending money. Now since I had to set this up on my router, I didn't think to mention it last week, I almost said yesterday, when I was talking about my modem upgrade because to me they're completely separate equipment. I don't have the modem and router
into the other
combo.
They are as one.
They do, but I could, so that means a network switch is one too?
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. So
all the way up to the dock.
Yeah, just, if you had your pitchforks out, it's okay.
Yeah.
I know about QoS. I did try that as well, and it didn't fix my issues in this case, but it might fix yours. So every network is different. Your mileage may vary.
And we try to mention everything we try, but we could easily
We do try.
I mean, I
could spend hours talking about modems and routers, hours. And we don't want to make you sit here for hours listening to us talk about that equipment.
I've spent hours talking about modems with Shannon. I assure you, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. So let us know if you also have any mentions about QoS that you would like to send in. You can send those to ask@techthing.com, or of course you can comment below, but be nice.
So last week you were talking about FAA regulations for the maximum allowable FAA regulated size of a battery you can bring onto a plane because you basically want to video game your way to Australia.
I totally do on my Nintendo Switch, man. Gotta have that battery for the Switch. So we ended up getting an email from Ron, who basically said about the battery equation for calculating milliamp per hour to wattage hour, so that you can make sure it's under that limit of 100 wattage hours per the FAA guidelines. So he mentioned about my Anker battery. It has a 5-volt output, and then it's 20,000 milliamp per hour, which was indeed correct. Because
Anker said it was 77 watt hours.
Yeah, they say 77 watt hours on the side of it, and I thought that was incorrect. I thought it was off.
Well, because like if you do like 20,000 milliamp hours with a 5-volt output, you end up getting 100 amp hours.
Yeah, so it turns out that calculation is based off of the input value for the lithium-ion batteries, not the 5-volt output. So if Anker inputs at 3.85, which it's probably closer to 3.7, then 77 wattage hours is correct. So Ron says about those USB battery banks, it's a real challenge to find any watt-hour data about these. Most product pages don't have the data. I was hoping to find an easy way to find the data, but didn't have much luck. In a couple of cases, I found the data in the user manual for the product, but really had to go hunting for it. According to the Anker FAQ, USB battery packs lower than 27,027 milliamp per hour are okay for airplanes. Note that this assumes that the pack voltage is 3.7 volts, which would not be true if the pack cells are wired in series. If they are only parallel, then this would be true.
And what we should point out here is this thing on my screen here, that's the actual lithium polymer battery pack. If you crack open a power pack, a battery pack, a bunch of those are going to be inside of it. And those are what the calculation for the FAA is based on, which is why this all gets so squirrely, because they're basing it on the battery output, not the actual output of the device, which makes my head hurt just to think about.
So he moves on and links over to a discussion from Thai Airways where they do have that calculation on there. He says, note that they probably wrongly do the USB power bank calculation with 5 volts instead of 3.7 volts. Thus, they say you cannot carry a USB power bank bigger than 20,000 milliamp per hour. Right or wrong, that's probably what they'll enforce. This item seems to corroborate what Anker's statements are, and he also links to Anker's website. I have tried to find more, but I give up. Made my brain ache. Most airline data quotes the limits in terms of grams of lithium. That's stupid. Or watt hours. The problem in this case is that the data is very hard for the consumer to find. Apparently, almost everyone does the watt-hour calculation for USB battery banks based on the 5-volt output, including snubs here. Even some airline staff. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know what the TSA or FAA or IATA would do. The 5-volt calculation does give a more conservative number, though, even if it's technically wrong. This seems to be a morass of confusion. Sincerely, from Ron. So yeah, it does sound like almost everybody was in the same boat as I am, thinking that it's based on output, which means that the TSA or an airline employee probably would be too. So it's probably best to get one that's under that 5-volt limit when you calculate it to watt hours.
Which is basically 20,000 milliamp hours.
Yep, it's 20,000 if it's 5-volt output.
So bring 2.
Yeah. So I want to say big thanks to all the very respectful human beings who commented with very constructive information on that. So I definitely learned something new. And hey, that's why we love it when you guys send in more information, because we have 4 eyes between us, sometimes 6 with these glasses. And it is wonderful to have all you brilliant viewers out there.
I feel like I want to just throw a bunch of these in a backpack and see what happens next time I fly.
Well, you have to make sure that they're covered so that they can't burst into flames.
Yeah,
that's a rule.
Maybe I shouldn't put those in my backpack.
And you have an analog pick for us, right?
I do! Remember, ladies and gentlemen, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do what I did this weekend. Something profoundly analog. Changing the pads and the drums on your truck and bleeding your brakes and giving yourself superior braking performance.
That's great.
I forgot how much I hate drum brakes.
Really?
Yeah. I was getting seriously greasy this weekend.
I'm good. I'll just take my car into a car place.
Perfectly reasonable response.
Or have you do it.
For $100 an hour, just like a mechanic. Barter. Do you have vegetables? Are you growing vegetables yet? Those are going to be the currency of the new economy after the whole...
The only thing I can grow is a cactus plant, because you never have to water it.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on Tech Thing. Let us finish our house first.
Okay.
Then we will garden everywhere. You will call me Johnny Garden Seed. Such a horrible name.
Johnny Garden Seed.
Johnny
You heard
Garden
it. Heard it here first.
Cue Northern California humor now. It's not seeds, people. It's clones. I got lectured about that from a very nice ex-Special Forces guy on the airplane to Denver for Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, who basically grows clones for the marijuana industry in Northern California. One of the best conversations I've ever had on an airplane. Went all over the place fast.
That's
I'm just
amazing.
saying. You know what's amazing? These people, because they make Tech Thing possible.
Our
Shannon
favorite
and I,
human.
thank you so much.
We love you. I love our human beings.
It was an awesome conversation. Like,
Yeah? It sounds awesome.
Like, what are you going to Denver for? He's like, beer fest. Like, oh, what do you do? He's like, I grow clones.